Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Kai Paul. Kai is an environmentalist, entrepreneur, surfer, and co-founder of the footwear and apparel company Indosole, a company that recycles discarded motor vehicle tyres and converts them into amazing footwear. Born in Jakarta, Indonesia, to American parents, Kai completed his university studies in the USA, and upon doing some soul searching, he moved back to Indonesia. Kai has lived frugally in order to pursue his dreams, fulfill curiosities and passions. When Kai and I were communicating prior to the podcast, I immediately sensed his enthusiasm and lust for life. The positive vibes were high from the very start. I asked Kai what he would consider some of his notable achievements in life, and he responded with the following. 1, great relationships with parents and family. 2, great friends. 3, overcoming selfishness, but still a work in progress. 4, continuing to be open and accepting. And 5, an interest in human health and happiness. When I asked him these questions, I expected to hear a CV-style rap sheet of academic qualifications, business success, his university basketball achievements, etc., etc. However, in short, his immediate response was relationships and self-improvement. And that's so good. It's rad. I was so stoked to hear that. Indosole has just turned 10 years. Kai believes we are living in the re-industrial revolution, a concept he discusses in his TEDx talk, which you can find in Kai's bio. He did this a few years back. And today he is with me to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Kai Paul, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be a part of this.
Oh, man, I'm so stoked to have you on, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So can you maybe just describe to us where we are right now?
Yeah, so we are in Echo Beach, Canggu, the road down to Echo Beach, famous and well-deserved kind of slice of heaven that's been around for ages and just basically discovered by the masses in the last really 10 years. But, you know, people knew, and it was a spot on the map and was discovered by surfers. And we set up a shop here about 2 years ago now. And so we are in the Indosole shop in Canggu, Bali. And very happy and proud to have it open now for almost 2 years. And, you know, really excited about the future of this place and really, you know, trying to captivate a community and, you know, really do positive things for this community and the worldwide.
So you've been in Canggu 10 years.
Been in Canggu a little over 7 years. Tell me what
Canggu was like 7 years ago.
I mean, it still is a great place. It's quite busy now, which is, you know, can't deny that it's good for business. But it's also, you know, lost a little bit of its tranquility, which is something that really drew me and the company to this place. It's got a great wave, you know, out front, a couple great waves out front. Plus, it's got a great beginner spot and great longboarding wave. So there's multitude of great waves, great beaches, and really good food. And it's also great. It's a great progressive spot. There's a lot of entrepreneurs doing really interesting things, sharing interesting ideas, progressing the way things are made, progressing the way food is made. There's plenty of rice fields still around. They're slowly being built upon, but and there's just really good people here. The village of Canggu and the village of Padang Linjong and the Banjars here have, you know, I find them really interesting and great people.
And I feel they're adapting so gracefully.
They are.
Because, there's such an influx.
And it happened really quickly, so, you're not sure what to expect. So, yeah, you're exactly right. That's a great way to put it. They're adapting gracefully.
Yeah. And I do love that we can have some developed areas, but then in between there's a rice paddy. And like I'm talking to you now, but I'm looking out the window and there's a beautiful rice field that's just been replanted by the looks of things. And it's like, it's still this really nice combination of busy, but, the real barley's still there, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. It's still just a beautiful place to live. I really don't want to live anywhere else. There's some other spots in Bali that are very interesting to me, but I'm still very happy living in Canggu.
Is that because your business is really rooted here?
Yeah, our business is really rooted here. Feel prideful about supporting people in the community and want to continue to be a part of it. Even if, say, I did move out of the community, I always have a special place here. And the Canggu surf community, the boys there, some of the best people in the world, and they've really supported Indosole since the beginning, and we've provided some sandals and stuff for them, and so seeing them grow up and seeing them have businesses of their own, Aya, Adi, June, Karbit, Koming, Adi, they all have their own businesses now, and it's great to see. So always want to make sure that we support them and their families and their community and pay respects to them. And our landowner, Pakatut, and his son Adi and their family have been really nice to us and gracious to us over the years.
As a businessman in Bali and Canggu, and how important is it connecting and being involved with the local community?
I think it's imperative, really, because you learn how to be sort of, you ground yourself. I think, I think that's the main way to put it is you get a sense of grounding where you can feel like you have a sense of home. I think.
Yeah. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that is how I feel.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just turning up this morning and just watching you cruise around and then sort of float back to your house and then into the shop and, yeah, man, it's your space, hey?
Yeah, it is.
So rad.
It's been nice, but it's been, it's also a lot of, just got to make sure that you always stay humble, I think.
Man, there's a few common themes coming out of this podcast journey that I'm on. One of them is, get out of your comfort zone and progress. The other one is the importance of humility. You've just said it again, and it just really reinforces that for me and hopefully some of the listeners. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I think Bali is a place that will keep you there.
Why?
I think karma is very prevalent in the energy, and in the sort of Western world, you call it the golden rule, which is do unto others as they would do to you, or maybe treat people like how you would want to be treated. And I kind of see that similar to what karma is. And it's it's kind of ingrained in the Indonesian culture and especially the Balinese culture of that is that you are just one of many, and you do have your part to play, and that it can be taken away from you if you maybe think that you're above that. And I think that it's good in the fact that if you notice it, it will let you know right away. And so you kind of got to listen to it and then sort of step back and not go too far and maybe accept some losses. So kind of there's that other saying of, losing the battle to win the war type of thing. And I think, it is important to lose some battles along the way.
Yeah, Bali seems to do that. It definitely levels out the playing field. I mean, I've noticed it in the relatively short time I've lived here. And I kind of put it back to the strong sense of community that the locals have and the strong sense of spirituality that just radiates through their daily life. It's so innate. It's like brushing your teeth, and their processes for the offerings. And then I'm learning about how I see these fields of marigolds being planted, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty, but it's all for ceremonies and offerings. Like, so the amount of effort and time that would just go into that, and they live it, and that's where their priorities are. And I feel like where I'm from, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like we don't have the same level of community connection. And I really love that about Bali. And you said it as well, like I do feel the inspiration here. It's like this hub. Even the fact that I'm talking to you now and talking to someone who is trying to think of a pragmatic way to maybe help our planet, and create a lifestyle by design. That's just amazing. Now, I've got a question.
Yep.
And I want to get stuck into it a little bit because I've got a few other questions about where you grew up and how you got started. But you mentioned the term, you think we're on the cusp of a re-industrial revolution. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so basically I preface it with what the Industrial Revolution is, and that's sort of like the mid 1800s, so like call it 1850, right? So you're looking at 170 years that we've lived through, and I really kind of think it started in like the 2010, really. So I think like 160 years is really the sort of length of time that I call the Industrial Revolution. And what that is basically coal, oil, the introduction of the steam engine, the factory life, the introduction of factories, the specification of labor, and you're building pipelines. This is a mass. It's a huge moment in humanity. If you look at the history of humanity, I mean, the progression in the last 160 years is just so immense. And meanwhile, we've been degrading the planet at sort of the same rate. It was sort of at the cost of the planet did we as humans really progress this massive amount. And I think that there's been an awakening for a while, and if you look back at like since the since really the mid 1900s, people will talk about this, but really it started becoming prevalent in the 80s. And if you look back, there's some ways that governments would try to hide some of this information or didn't invest in it, and that's really unfortunate. But it started becoming prevalent, and then really in what I think is in 2010, there was just that immense, start talking about climate change and what can potentially happen. And I don't really, we and as a company don't really like to talk about climate change as a fear thing, because we don't want to introduce fear, because we feel it's a solution that can be positive and solved. So we like to talk about it with solutions. And so that's what the re-industrial revolution really is that realization of what the Industrial Revolution brought and those systems, and then utilizing those systems and sort of same sort of methodologies and reintroducing new technologies, new processes that can work, that coincide with the regeneration of the environment and protection of the environment. So it's these new solutions, these new technologies, these new thought patterns that happen that will reintroduce industry, but in a way that is different than it happened before. So instead of going away from all the systems and processes that were so valuable, let's tweak them, right? So instead of using coal, let's use a new generative material, which potentially, in all honesty, could be ground up tires. So there's a lot of resources in waste that we don't use yet, and we haven't realized how to use yet. So we also like to refer to as a secondary resource market, which is basically dumps and each person's trash. So there holds resources, and that's why we have a gold painted tire in the shop, because we think that tires are gold. So it's a resource that is still, that we've put energy into it, right? We as humans, or as industrialists, have put energy into these items. There's a lot of energy that goes into a tire. We can take that energy out. And if you look at the sort of basics of, I guess, physics or chemistry, energy is energy, right? So if you put energy into something, you got to get energy. You're able to get energy out of it. And so right now at the heads of a lot of factories and a lot of processes are older people. But those older people are getting older. And so there's either their children or there's new people and new thoughts coming up. And that's where this re-industrial revolution is really starting to take place. There's new processes. Obviously, there's solar, there's wind, there's Boyan Slat, I think his name.
Yeah, I just listened to his podcast with Joe Rogan.
Exactly, amazing podcast. An amazing young man.
He's cleaning up
rivers.
The rivers and
Yep.
also the Pacific trash island.
Right. His first project was a Pacific garbage patch, and then now he's working on rivers, and he started with one in Jakarta, I believe, or in Bandung. I don't know if it was the Citarum. I think it was a different. But then you got like Gary Binchigib, who's working on new ways to solve river pollution crisis. And you got Malati Wilson with Bye Bye Plastic Bags. So you have all these people doing great projects, and it's leading to large, all these things or sticks in the fire, you want to say, are leading to real process and manufacturing changes. I mean, manufacturing is a huge element to this whole thing, and production, manufacturing, engineering. That's why we need engineers, product designers, developers. I mean, it's a huge ecosystem that we all can play a part in. Even every consumer. I mean, it really is. It's so cliche to say that you vote with your dollars, but it really does amount to that at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And so it's exciting to us. We don't say that it has to be right now, which is what climate change is saying. And unfortunately, I think that climate change scientists are right. Obviously, I think they know what is happening to the climate and what is happening to us as humanity. And unfortunately, there's going to be some very difficult decisions to be made of either moving populations and whatnot for some of these water, rising sea level hotspots, danger zones. But we as humans, I feel, Indosole feels, have the opportunity to provide solutions. And that's sort of where the company was founded. Kyle Parsons brought this idea to me 10 years ago. Kyle's really the main impetus behind Indosole. And he started here in Bali finding tires, or he found a pair of sandals with tires on the bottom of it. And one thing led to another. We met. I'm from Indonesia. We kind of collaborated. And that's really the impetus behind Indosole, is providing a solution to a major problem. And tires are one of those major problems.
Dude, I'm just standing here and just going, I love everything you're saying. And I was talking about common themes before. So one of my guests early on in the podcast, episode number 4, I had a guy called Nev Hyman, who was a classic surfboard shaper in the 80s, 90s. He also created the brand Firewire surfboards.
Yeah, that's a legend.
He also built the first ever surfboard computer shaping machine. Anyway, legend. Anyway, so he's been exactly in recent years. It's not even recent years. He's been developing and working on this project called the Nev House Project, and it's very much in line with what Indosole is doing, except maybe on a bigger scale in terms of going back to what you said about turning trash into a resource. So he's designed and created this product called the Nev House concept, which is modular housing, and I'm advocating for it and promoting it as much as I can, and because of, especially for what's happening in Australia at the moment. So this is modular housing, emergency housing that can be put together in 2 to 3 days. And he set one up at the last WSL event at Karamas, 2 to 3 days. But then in terms of temporary shelter, it can then last for years, and then people can actually live in it for years. And they're really nice designs. And it's this concept, and I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it, but it's basically creating these panels that are made from trash, like raw trash, unsorted trash, and it's encapsulated in these panels, and then they click together, and the trash doesn't even have to be processed down too far, where it's heated up to a level where it's super hot. And Nev, if you hear this, I hope I got that right. But he's actually in the process of doing exactly what you said, and that is building the first ever, refinery next to a tip where they're using that trash and converting it. And he's just trying to raise money. And he's been at the Green School, and we've been trying to help him get the money together. And he's on the journey. He just needs he needs $2 million. And he's there, and they can build the first ever actual proper processing factory where they can do it on a large scale. And sorry to go on a rant here, but yeah, it's amazing, and he's progressing. And then they've already provided disaster relief in Vanuatu. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago when there was a big hurricane there, and the locals loved it. And I think the locals are still living in it, and they make these houses culturally sensitive. And then I look at what's happening in Australia, and many of my friends have actually really been affected by it and lost houses.
Sorry to hear that.
And it's just such a perfect solution, like what's going on there right now, you know. So when people really need it, I get so frustrated with like why people get stuck in this mindset. It's like, where's the growth mindset that you talked about, you know? So anyway, I love what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth. Just to finish my thought on that since you brought up growth, is that what's interesting is that in this reindustrial revolution there's a place for everybody. So like, for example, what you're saying with Nev's idea, the collection of that. You don't need to be a product designer. You don't need to be the head of a factory. If you have logistics skills, you can be a major part of this. And it's also allow growth to happen. So I think that was, you know, cannot deny what climate change scientists say, but it also, let's allow our people, our culture, our humanity time to fix this issue. I think there's a little bit too much pressure right now on trying to fix this huge issue overnight. And the Industrial Revolution took 160 years. I think the Reindustrial Revolution will take 30 to 60, somewhere in that. And we're only in year 10, right? So let's give ourselves a little bit of time and growth.
Such a positive way to look at it, you know. We live in such a society where we want things now and now.
Well, it's hard, right? I mean, your feelings about the fire obviously are warranted, you know, and that's happening right now. So it's hard to understand where the actual problem comes from. Like where is this exactly? It's a very difficult question to answer. We obviously know that climate plays a part. I mean, I guess I can't say obviously, but we would assume, right? And so there is, and then we've got flood issues in Jakarta, happening right exactly at the same time. A lot more earthquakes, a very weird rainy season. Okay, this is only year by year, but there are these signs, right? And so it's allowing ourselves to understand it, grow with it, and try to find solutions as we go.
Yeah, just actually going on that tangent a little bit, did you notice that the dry season was extra long and extra dry?
Extra long, extra hot.
Extra hot?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, and the wet season didn't kick in till much later.
Yeah, like December 15th, which is really late.
Bali was basically in a drought, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I mean, I'm reluctant to go down the climate change rabbit hole.
Yeah, so are we, so am I. I think just we as a company, me as a person, want to make sure that we don't disrespect any of their research and their work, and you know, because they are doing great work and they're doing great research, and somebody's got to do that, and that's the research that they're presenting, right? There's a great article in New York Times. I'll send it to you after this, and we'll put it in the show notes. Maybe they can read it.
Absolutely.
But there's some great articles about the history and evolution of this climate change science. It's interesting to read. It's very political.
I'm sure it is. And again, it goes back to just educate yourself. Just read a few things, develop an opinion, but an educated one, you know, and adopt a growth mindset. But on a practical level, talking about like the fire stuff, my brother-in-law, Carl, he is one of the heads of the National Parks and Wildlife Fire Management. So they're basically making all the decisions around the fires and backburning, and it's been a big debate in Australia. You know, like we didn't backburn enough, and then it leads into political stuff like the government cut resources and da. But he basically said, talking to him about it, he said we want to backburn, but the window you notice in the last few years is just too small to do it safely, and they just weren't able to again, and so. He's of the mindset that, on a practical level, trying to actually, harm minimize, that we couldn't work with nature because it was the window to do it safely was too short. It was like summers were too long and dry, and we didn't get those opportunities. So that's one way to look at it. And another perspective on it, I guess.
Yep.
So, man, you grew up, you were born in Jakarta,
Yep.
Indonesia.
Yeah.
So you're Indonesian.
I'm not by passport.
You're not?
No.
So what happened?
Yeah, well, so it's actually a funny story because when I was born in Jakarta, my dad had to, within the first, it was like they gave him like 72 hours or something to be able to verify that I was an American in Indonesia. And so he had to get like 140 signatures or something, from different so I feel like there's some communities or some desas, some kepala desas, and also some embassies and some administrative, like the U.S. Embassy, the Indonesian Embassy. Anyways, he had to go through this whole deal to prove that I was American within 72 hours. So that was funny. I kind of wish I was just, left out in the cold and was Indonesian because it'd be really great. I would love to be able to have dual. Unfortunately, at that time, America didn't allow dual citizenship, and Indonesia still to this day doesn't. But there's some things that are going in place, and I am going to try to explore that at some point. But right now, I'm still just American, and that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, you were born in Jakarta, and then did you go to your early schooling years in Jakarta and Bali? Oh, in Indonesia, sorry? Yep.
I went to Kartika preschool, nice. Which is a kind of a classic preschool in Jakarta. It's a real cool little school. When I was 7, I moved to California and I went to Lake Tahoe, okay. Which was great. Got to learn how to ski. Actually,
one of my to grow up.
Yeah, Lake Tahoe is amazing. Such a beautiful location. Also, very connected to the environment as well, and very connected to nature.
So beautiful.
I mean, the town I lived in was 2,000 people. So I go from Jakarta, which is 15 million, I think they say now, or whatever, to a small town of 2,000. And then when I was 11, I went back to Jakarta. And then I finished my schooling till I was 18 in Jakarta and had a great childhood, great growing up at Jakarta. I went to an international school with something like 52 different nationalities or something like that. So it was great.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, what a foundation for your childhood. I'm looking at my children who go to an international school and... yeah, they're surrounded by multiple languages. Like in their class, there's 5 different languages every day. And my daughter is already probably speaks Bahasa Indonesian better than me because
awesome.
She has Indonesian, teachers and teachers' aides. And then her best friend is French, and then another friend is German, and another one's Dutch, and they're all. And so she's going to learn multiple languages, and
awesome.
I think it's such a good foundation.
Oh man,
is that how you feel?
Yeah, I believe in language, multilingual.
Why?
I just think it allows you to connect with so many more people, so many more cultures. It also, I think, it just does something interesting to your brain, where you kind of psychologically are able to go with the flow a little bit more. You're not as maybe fearful of other people, or I don't know exactly what I'm going with there, but. Purely just being able to connect with so many more people. I mean, it's such a skill.
Do you think that creates empathy?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Because if you can understand where people are coming from, then you have the opportunity to basically understand so much more in life, right?
Yeah.
So you take away the judging, you take away the sort of miscommunications and stuff like that. So, I mean, empathy is huge.
Yeah, for sure. And understanding, you're actually understanding different views on the world. We can easily, I know I do it all the time, just get very closed-minded about, no, this is how it's meant to be, because that's how I've only ever known it. And it's not till you, like you said, reach out and communicate with different nationalities on their level that you actually see the other perspectives. And going back to what you're saying about learning another language in your mind, there's a science there. It does activate various parts of the brain that you usually wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So you are expanding your mind.
Yeah. I believe that.
That's right.
100%.
So good, man. Yeah, I've actually been getting Bahasa Indonesian lessons.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think anybody that moves to Indonesia should.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
It's like, why wouldn't you?
You're fluent?
I wouldn't call myself fluent, but I can communicate well.
Yeah. I sort of get that. I get that vibe. Okay, so then 7, you're in Lake Tahoe from 7 till 7 years
Yeah,
of
7
age.
to 11.
Yeah.
And then when I was 11, I moved back to Jakarta.
Back to Jakarta. Why is that?
My parents wanted to show me where I was born. They thought I was too young when I was, I left when I was 7 to really appreciate it. And we were only going to go back for 2 years, and then we were going to move back to Tahoe, because Tahoe is great. Great community. I had a bunch of amazing friends.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful place. Snow in the winter, and there's just amazing summers. Big, huge lake to play on. But then we just fell in love with Indonesia all over again and never left.
So good, man.
Yeah, Jakarta was a magical place, to be honest.
Why? Magical?
There's just so much.
I don't think I've ever heard Jakarta.
Yeah, there's so much freedom. There was so much freedom there.
Freedom in what way?
Well, in my opinion, growing up, laws obviously. So I could start going out at night and kind of messing around in the city and having fun with the friends and stuff like that. No real sort of police force or whatever to say no. And not that we were doing anything crazy or anything, but just sort of had a freedom that was fun. Yeah. Also, there's amazing food, amazing people, and there's this chaos to it that's really like harmonic, which sounds odd, but there's so much fun to be had in Jakarta. There's so many mixes of the Indonesian cultures and Asian cultures, and there's just a lot of fun things to do. There's a lot of great art there. That's obviously where the politics are. So there's an interesting journalism perspective and place in the world there that's important, and but. What happened with Jakarta is actually a really good thing for Indonesia, is that, and Jakarta suffered for it, is that the middle class really started to rise once democracy started happening, and there's still a very large wealth dispersion issue, but it's a lot better than it used to be, and there's a lot more people that have access to motorbikes and cars, and that sort of has really damaged the experience in Jakarta because the traffic there is just so bad now.
Yeah. Can you give us a bit of an insight into that social uprising? Was it in the late 90s?
Yeah. Well, there was first one in like 1965, I believe it was, when, Suharto and the generals overtook Sukarno, the founder of the country. And then, then Suharto ruled for, I think it was like 32 years, something like that. And then he was overthrown in 98, kind of due to that sort of social injustice and economic disparity. And then democracy was born in Indonesia, which is, basically it was 52 years after it being founded as a dictatorship for 52 years, and then it becomes a democracy. It's kind of an interesting story.
Oh, wow.
And then, really now we have an amazing president who's done some really amazing things. Never really want to talk politics. But I do admire some of the things he's done, and he's put in some really interesting people as ministers, really young people that could do some really interesting things for the future. I think he's done some really interesting things for the future of the country.
Yeah. I mean, I avoid politics. I actually I made a conscious decision to not look at mainstream media, and I really try to choose the media that I consume wisely. I've actually found a website called the Good News Network, and it only has good news, good stories. Awesome. But it's really good. Just with the one thing I will say about politics is, and you just touched on it, is I would love to see younger people up there.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's, even at a fundamental base level, I think so much could change if they just did that. I'm not saying everyone needs to be 25, but maybe in like a few up there just to balance out. Like, it's all about balance, isn't it? Like balance the young and old.
Definitely.
But anyway.
Yeah, they both have great perspectives to come with. And
it's needed. And in terms of moving forward, I think it's so crucial. And I think people are crying out for real change more than ever. And it's happening really incrementally. And I like the positive spin you put on change too. So, yeah, man. So you came back to Indonesia when you were 11.
Yeah.
And then went to school here till
18.
Till 18?
Yeah.
High school here?
High school, yeah. Finished high school here. It was actually 1998. We were evacuated from school, so I didn't finish
Why?
my last 3 weeks of high school because the government was being overthrown and there were riots. There was a tank went down the street in Sudirman in Jakarta, and the American embassy was basically like pulled all Americans, which I was really upset about, to be honest with you. I wanted to stay, and I didn't feel in danger at all. But there was sort of, different forces at play. Yeah, so we left within 24 hours, basically.
No.
Yeah. So it was tough. It was really tough. So you basically
just got ripped out of school, ripped out of your life, and sent back to America.
Yeah, well, actually, my two buddies and I, we had some money saved up, and we had planned a Europe trip, so we just went to Europe three weeks early.
Because you would have been almost 18.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We're like, bye, Mom and Dad, we're going to Europe. Great. So that was cool, actually. But no, it wasn't cool in general, because we were really looking forward to finishing off and having, kind of having a proper send-off. But so that was a little bit of a bummer, but... I think overall it's good for the country. So if we had to sacrifice a little bit, it's all right.
So not many people would ever experience that.
Yeah, it was interesting, and seeing the airports just jam-packed with people trying to leave and people just selling their cars at the airport.
Was there like panic?
Yeah, there was kind of a little bit of a panic. There had been a couple things that had happened, North Jakarta was getting ravaged at that point. And there was... you can look back at 1998 riots and stuff like that. Go Wikipedia it. But yeah, there were some definitely savage things that were going on.
Yeah, man. So then you went on a mission.
Yeah.
Where'd you just go?
Yeah, so then we went to Europe, and we just went to like 6 different countries. Started in Amsterdam, and then
just you and a mate.
Paris.
Just you and a mate.
No, me and two good buddies from high school.
3 of you.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Just cruising around.
Yeah, cruising around.
Not a care in the world.
No, not even going to one single museum, or just like, just like.
I've done that.
It was so fun. I'm going to go back and go to some museums, but at that point we were not interested. We were just sitting on lakes, sitting on coasts, sitting in a cafe in Paris. Not really even partying. A little bit of the
absorbing.
Yeah. Amsterdam had a little bit of play in it, so go to the Bulldog.
I love Amsterdam.
Yeah,
I love the street.
Greenhouse.
I love the narrow streets and the canals in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam's awesome.
I just walked around for days just looking, and it's great. Yeah. But I just think it's funny that you guys didn't do the museum thing, because I've done the travels around Europe and stuff like that. And I feel like it's only now, like I'm in my 40s, that now I actually want to go back and do that and really appreciate those things.
Me too.
Because I don't think even in my 20s I was ready to really appreciate the scale of the, the history there.
Yeah.
And the history's vast.
Oh, man.
Australia doesn't have that history. We're so young,
Right.
So...
Right.
It's rad, man.
Yeah.
And there's a saying I really like about history. It's like, you've got to know where you've been so you know where you're going.
Yeah, I love that saying too.
That's why history's so important.
Yeah.
It's rad.
You understand the past so you can understand your future. That's the other
understand your past. It's so true, man. Yeah, man. So then you did that, and then at what step? Like, what was after that? So you did your little mission around Europe, and then
and then went to university in California in a small town called Chico, Northern California. Went to Chico State University, California State University, Chico.
Yeah.
Was a little bit lost there for a couple of years. It was tough. I won't lie. It was tough adapting to U.S. After living in Indonesia for that time. Yeah. I think I was maybe humbly, I think maybe a little bit more advanced than some of the high school kids coming out into university there. They're just, football and sports are so big in the U.S. And I was into sports, but also really kind of more into world sort of, you go to a school with 52 different nationalities, and there's art and there's music. And so I think I was a little culture starved, I think, when I got back.
You felt that?
Yeah, I think I felt that. And I wasn't connecting with the kids there. I didn't have great friends, especially that first year and a half. Started getting friends after about a year and a half, like where I was really, I kind of
took that long.
Yeah, I had a really kind of, not a good friend group really when I got there. And then I kind of ditched them after a year and a half once I had gained a little bit more confidence and understanding of where my place was in California.
And you found your tribe.
Found my tribe, yeah. Which was great. And then the rest of the experience was great. I originally was going over there. I wanted to play basketball. I sort of left that behind the first 2 years, and then I got back into it, and I eventually played university basketball, which was an amazing experience for me because it turned my whole life around, where I sort of, I was struggling, I was flailing in the U.S., to be quite honest. And it just sort of gave me this sense of direction again, and the sense of family. And my team was my family again, and the coach was a real good guy. They brought me back to life, basically.
You played university basketball?
Yeah, I did. Just 2 years in Division II, so nothing crazy, but it was just a great experience, and it was just amazing. It was a great challenge. I walked on, made the team.
Amazing.
So it was a great challenge and a great achievement for myself.
I look at you, man, like you're not short, but you're not tall.
I was the third shortest person in the league, I think.
Wow, man, that's right.
Yeah,
you must have been good.
I had a little bit of game, but I definitely wasn't great.
You were quick, weren't you? I could tell.
And I think it was also just a hard worker and a good teammate, and just really understood the game. I grew up with the game. My dad played pro ball over in Australia in the early 70s. He played some college ball, and he was my high school coach.
Amazing.
So yeah, I kind of grew up with the game, so it's kind of the second nature type of thing.
And you're close with your dad?
Yeah, real close. He's a real good guy. Done a lot for me. And he's a fun guy too. So
he's a fun guy.
He's fun to hang out with.
Is he you consider him like a good buddy?
Yeah, he's a good buddy.
That's right.
Yeah,
man.
Dewey. Shout out to Dewey.
His name's Dewey.
Yeah, shout out to Dewey. Dewdrop.
That's a rad name, Dewey.
It is a good name.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. So bit of college ball, and then you sort of found your tribe at university, and then you said you worked a little bit after university in the States.
Yeah, I did. I graduated with construction management, so it's in the College of Engineering. So it's kind of like a manager of engineering, basically. And so when my first job out of college, I was a project engineer, and I was working on different construction projects. Then that led me to a really amazing opportunity. I worked on a couple high-rises in San Francisco. Right. So in the mid-2000s, San Francisco was just booming because of the the economy in general was booming, and a lot of it was being invested into these big apartment complexes or big buildings, office buildings in San Francisco. And so I left the original company I was working with and started working with a company that was building all these buildings. And so went up, built a 40-story, a 42-story, a 23-story, and it was just an amazing experience to get to the top of the building. We poured all the concrete. Every 4 days we were pouring a new level. It was a real industrial, real sort of true blue American sort of experience, living in San Francisco, and we were building the city. It's kind of sort of this sort of
that's so cool,
iconic little situation. But then I kind of topped out. Literally like standing up to the top of the building and sort of did that. And
so you had that moment of like, okay, I'm done here.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. So I saved up some money and I sort of quit that career, really. Never gone back to it. And then moved over here to Bali, and that was 2008, and just gave myself space to figure out the next steps.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems like Bali's a good place for people to do that, and I've met a bunch of people doing it, and it seems like some people do it and then they go really great, and then others give it a go, and then they leave.
Well, I failed, basically. It wasn't a failure because it led me to this point. But
what do you mean failed?
I wanted to do a sushi restaurant with a pool bar. And I don't even know why. To be honest with you, it's just nobody had done it. And
that's as good as it gets.
I had a big thing for sushi until I found out all the other sides of it. But in San Francisco, but to be honest, I hadn't been back here since 2001 in Bali, and this was 2008. So I hadn't been back to Bali in 7 years. I hadn't been back to Indonesia in 7 years. And the economy had greatly increased, or the value of money, I guess. The money I was coming in with just did not satisfy, I think, what I wanted to achieve. And to be honest with you, maybe if I did that whole thing over again right now, after going through this whole experience of entrepreneurship, of Indosole, and before that, Power Balance, could maybe make it work now. But at that point, I was a manager at that point. I wasn't an entrepreneur. So I think I sort of treaded my feet a little bit too much and sort of went home and went back to California and just snowboarded, to be honest with you. So I still made it 11 months with no work and just sort of, I tried to do the endless summer that was my intent, right? I was like, I'm going to do the endless summer. And I kind of fulfilled it by snowboarding the last, the mid 3 months. And then I moved down to Southern California and was by the beach for another 2 before I started working again.
Nice, man.
So made it 11 out of the 12 months. Close,
Dude,
close.
That's good.
Endless summer -1.
Dude. Like, I mean, you mentioned that you live frugally.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, it's just so weird that you said that. Like, even that word frugally, because, like, I'm on this real trip at the moment. Like, I'm 43, and I'm, like, probably having a midlife crisis, probably. And I'm like, I want to retire soon.
It's awesome.
And just focus on, like, I want freedom to spend as much time with my kids and do the things I love, which is skateboarding, surfing, and podcasting. I just love these things. Like, they just make my heart sing, you know. But don't get me wrong, I love my job too, but I feel like I'm living someone else's vision, and I want to live my own vision. And I've been getting into this whole thing about like financial independence, and I really believe that a lot of us can achieve it, even if you're on a small income, by just changing the way you live, you know. And that's what I'm working on right now. Like, and it's not about money as much as it is about having a lifestyle that is zero or low waste, if that makes sense. Like,
definitely.
And utilizing the resources available to you. And it's amazing when you change that. And like, yeah, there's a lot of things like, yeah, I could just go and buy that, you know, for sure. Or could I learn how to make that? And yeah, I just think it's a nice way to live. And so when you said that, I was like, that's rad. Do you think that's been a big contributor to your success as a businessman?
Yeah, I think as when you look at business as sort of numbers, right? So you can have, well, it's a lesson that's very valuable, and I think we learned it kind of early. Is you can have revenue, right? That doesn't mean you have profit. So, you know, revenue kills, profit thrills. If you want to look at it as just a pure like business methodology, and if you apply that to life, it's like you can make a lot of money, but you can maybe not live a good life, right? So if you look at your life, your actual life as profit, that applies to it, right? So it doesn't actually, revenue doesn't matter. It's if you look at revenue minus expenses equals gross profit, right? So you look at your income, you look at all your expenses and what you're spending your money on. At the end of the day, it's that difference, that bottom line that you're looking at. So it doesn't really matter. It's how you live your life and how much you're getting out of your life for the end of the day. And I think everybody has to look at themselves and understand what that really is and what you want to get out of life. And that's an individual opinion, and that's one of the beauties about life, is that everybody kind of needs to make that decision for themselves. And the longer you wait to make that decision, I think the longer you're going to struggle. But that's okay if you have your goal, and maybe you are sacrificing for the next 5 years of a job that you don't like or whatever. I respect anybody that does whatever they have in mind for themselves, and even if they're just still figuring out, that's fine too. I would never say, you know, quit right now and do that and start your new life, because I think also you got to understand that you shouldn't really rely on other people to help you get there. I mean, to provide for you to get there. You should definitely reach out and have people help you get there. I think people want to help you get there, you know, and I think that's also actually a really valuable lesson, is ask for help.
Ask for help. That's like,
but don't make them, don't depend on them, or, you know what I mean? Stand up for yourself, I think, also.
Yeah, but asking for help, I mean, you gotta shed the ego for that.
Yeah, you do, and I think it's a very valuable thing. And I think it's also, you know, the way you ask for help. You know what I mean? You don't want to ask for just 100% help. It's more like advice, right? Or like, what would you do in this situation? Or, you know, I don't know. Each person has to figure it out.
And what have you got to offer? Like, we all have something to offer.
Right.
Like, even at a base level, you have something to offer. Your experiences are unique. And the way they've unfolded for you might be just exactly the way someone else needed to hear it, because they identify with it. And that's something that's really coming out of the podcast with me, is that when people, like, if you feel like you've got nothing to give back to the world, well, you do. You have your own story, which is like no other. And it could be that someone else needs to hear it the way it unfolded for you. because that's exactly what they needed to hear, and it might be the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle for them to make a change in their life or initiate action, you know. So
I agree, and that's why I really respect what you do, because I listen to podcasts a lot for that reason, is to get advice from people that have been in certain situations or that maybe I respect or just would want to hear from, and then didn't realize that I wanted to hear from them as well. That's some of the funnest times, when I find something or somebody that I never even realized existed.
Yeah, I always hear it from where I least expect it, like from people that I would have never really I thought I wasn't interested in. You know, like I've only ever really been interested in skateboarders and surfers. I'm like, I just want to talk to them. But I'm realizing it's like, how am I ever going to grow and develop if I just speak to people who are familiar with me or listen to people who are familiar and into what I'm into? Like, yeah, that's great. But, I mean...
It's kind of like the algorithm, right?
What's the algorithm?
Step out of your algorithm.
Step out of your algorithm, yeah.
You know?
And it's scary, though. It is.
It is. I think it's so valid and so valuable. You're going to love it.
Do you feel like you've stepped out of your algorithm?
I think so, yeah.
On a few occasions?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm trying to do that more and more.
Are you out of your algorithm right now in life?
No.
Where are you at?
No,
right
I think I'm right there where I'm supposed to be, and I am going to be stepping out of my algorithm very soon. There's some getting into a little bit more food and nutrition, and that's a whole new thing for me. I mean, I've always been sort of conscious of it, but to really start understanding it and know where food comes from, it's a very interesting tie, and I'm really excited about it. But I'm definitely out of my algorithm, out of my comfort zone, because I just don't know yet. You know,
right? Don't get me started on food and nutrition. I'm very passionate about it, and the one thing I have learned about that stuff is it's a personal journey.
Yeah,
that you need to document. And, like, I know I did it at the start. I still do it. Like, I might take notes like, I just ate quinoa and now I'm bloated. I feel like shit.
Right.
And write it down.
Right.
And then next time you go to do it, you go, oh, yeah, no. Okay, that didn't work for me. It works for someone else. It doesn't work for me, you know. But the biggest changes I've had is when I cut out bread, rice, dairy.
Yep. Me too.
But, yeah. Anyway, but let's not go down that rabbit hole. It's a huge rabbit hole. It's like politics, religion,
Yeah,
food.
no, yeah.
Cool, man. Okay, so I love where you're at, and I love, like I said, I've said this numerous times, I love the concept of Indosole. Back in like 2013, I was in Bali, and I seen a pair of your flip-flops when they just started, I think. And the first thing I noticed was that it had like an old tyre tread on the bottom.
Correct.
And you could even see part of the Goodyear sign, you know, and I was like, it was so obvious, like, wow, someone has just made a pair of flip-flops and used the rubber from an old motorbike tyre. I was like, that's so rad. I've got to have a pair. I bought them. And it's literally was only for Christmas just past, last year, 2019, that my wife bought me a new pair of Indosoles. I got the brown ones. So that pair I had lasted me for almost 7 years.
Wow.
Dude, I was like so stoked. I wore them into
testimony.
the ground.
Thank you.
And they're like the back was starting, like the glue was starting to come away. And I must admit that tread, even from the start, was a bit slippery.
Yeah.
And then when she showed me the new pair and I noticed that you guys have refined the process, and like I was like, yes, and I wear them all the time. So can you tell me, like, what are like how have you refined the Indosole process over the last 10 years? Like, it started from what I just said to where it is now. What's the process involved?
Okay, so just a quick baseline. So tires are a huge issue worldwide, right?
Gotcha.
It's hard to figure out what to do with them. There's huge tire piles everywhere, and governments don't really have a huge solution. Big tire companies don't have a big solution, right? So there's a problem there. We recognized it. There's also this amazing idea but fact that a lot of disadvantaged populations around the world have used tires for footwear or for different aspects forever, ever since tires were made by Charles Goodyear in the late 1800s, right? So they're there, and there's a problem, and basically, so we just want to give credit to these disadvantaged populations over time that it's their idea. We saw the idea, and we thought that there was a chance to enhance and improve this idea and bring it to more people so that there was more awareness, and also provide a solution to start creating some change. and understanding that we probably won't eliminate the tire problem in the world. I mean, there's 1.6 billion, I think probably more now, tires discarded every year. So it's hard to create enough sandals to delineate that issue. But bringing light to it is very important, and getting to a place where there's a real potential to apply this idea and technology to something else. So we started out with motorbike tires, and we just cut the motorbike tread. We cut the motorbike tread off the tires, and there was 2 pair per tire, right? And then we moved into car tires as well, and we just used the sidewall because the car tire tread, there's metal belts in it, and it's very difficult to take out the metal belts and punch through, so we couldn't use that as soles, and that always bothered us. How do we use more of the tire? How do we use 100% of the tire? There's all these scraps. Also, when you punch out a sole, there's these scraps. So we started looking for people that could process these scraps. And that led us to where we are now, where we use 100% of the tire, but minus the steel belts.
You've worked out a process to get the steel belts out.
Yeah, okay. Right. So there's machinery that can do what we need to be done, basically. And so it comes now in a powder, and you can see it here in our shop. And so it's basically just a fine powder, and that's a perfect example of what we call a secondary resource market, right? So that's a resource, right? It can be sold by pound, kilogram, and pound, kilogram, volume, weight, whatever, right? So, and it's basically like a mix between an iron product and a petroleum product. Right, so on a whole different aspect of industry, it can be used. But bring it back to Indosole. What we do is we take this powder and we put it in a hot mold, and we press it, and that becomes the soles of our footwear. So now we utilize 100% of the tire. It is a composite. We do introduce some new rubber, but we're getting closer and closer to becoming 100% recycled once again. So it's been a process and sort of a decision that we had to take. While taking a step forward, there was potential that people would perceive it that, okay, now you're losing the tread, you're losing the Goodyear. There were some great prints or great words that came out of these tires. Well, my favorite is from Michelin. You cut off the M and the I, and it said chillin'.
No
right?
way.
So that's a great one, right? Goodyear, obviously, you got good. Ridge from the bridge. There's a lot of great words that would come out of these tires.
Just randomly.
Yeah, random, and you can never see it again. But there's one that's called save, right? There's one that just says save on it, which is a great, sort of metaphor. So we had some blowback from it because it didn't look like a tire anymore, and it wasn't 100% tire, which we're getting back to right now, and we're still in development. But we wanted to move forward, and we wanted to progress, and that's where we are right now. Is we've introduced this technology about 2.5 years ago, and what it does is uniformity, whatever that word is. It uniforms.
Yeah, that sounds
uniforms?
Right.
The sandals as well, so they become more sellable and more. Our ability to expand increased quite a bit because there was also issues with consumers and also retailers accepting the product when it was just pure tire.
Why?
Because
why was there issues?
There was questions about it, right? So you have the words on it. Are they slippery? Is this gonna annoy my feet when I'm walking on these letters, these chilling letters,
okay.
right?
So
And they're also we cut them with a machine. So we were slicing tires in half, and we'd use both sides of them, and so it wasn't always uniform. They were very ununiform sandals, right? And ununiformity is very hard to bring to a larger market.
No 2 pairs were exactly the same.
No 2 pairs were exactly the same, which is really cool.
That's rad.
It's rad, right? We thought so too, but it was very difficult to grow and to make a real viable business out of it. Now, there's an opportunity, we think, to bring that back at some point, and definitely would work with somebody, another brand or whatever that wants to create that. Please reach out. We have a massive amount of experience and know-how on how to do it better than we ever have before, but grinding it up into this powder really allowed us to create uniformity and really get our message and our product and our brand to more and more people. People were more accepting of the product, and it's just sort of sometimes you got to accept how things are, unfortunately, right? Or fortunately. And so for us, it is fortunately that we accepted the way things were in our minds, unfortunately, right? So
you got to play the game a little bit.
Got to play the game a little bit,
Yeah.
and allow people to come to you and allow people to accept you, and not be too. We're a little too hardline for a little bit too long.
It's
And
all right, keep going.
yeah, and
My logo just fell off. It's hilarious.
it's a great logo.
Stuck on with blue tack.
And so that was a lesson, and it's been nothing but good since we did that. We made that decision, and we created the Essential line, and each color represents a different element of nature that we want to protect, and we've introduced the slide model, and now we've introduced the cross, and we're going with 3 major models now, and it's been a real positive upswing. And the real exciting idea or concept or ability of this new sort of methodology of creating this tire powder is that we can expand in a whole range of new products.
Okay, right. So you've created a resource.
We've created a resource.
A materials resource.
And a materials resource, correct.
Because one of my other guests, who was, I think, episode 3, it was Mike Long from Parlay for the Oceans.
Okay.
And they are very much about saving the oceans and the trash problem. And he said that the future of consumerism and products is the materials revolution. So they had been working with Adidas, and Adidas made a shoe purely out of PET plastic bottles. Okay, so when I hear you say this stuff, it's like, well, you guys are already on that trajectory. You're on that path. It's like you're repurposing something that would usually be a burden on the environment, when really, and Nev said this as well, it's like we've got gold, we've got a new resource.
Correct.
We don't have to go for the coal anymore. Okay, it's and the oil. It's we've got this resource here that's like readily available.
Correct.
And it's like, because I've got a bit of a permaculture background, it's all about thinking in systems and cycles as opposed to mono.
Correct.
And at the moment, I think when you talk about the re-industrial revolution, it's really this cyclic way of thinking.
Correct.
And again, man, I love it. And another note on your flip-flops and shoes is I feel like you've refined the mold as well.
Correct.
Like they're much more comfortable.
They're all redesigned. We took a step back 3 years ago of, we were sort of staying stagnant. And we made a phase change, is what I like to call it. And that requires a lot of energy before water becomes gas, right? There's a lot of energy there that's put in before it becomes gas. And so that phase, we decided to take a step back. Sort of our business really declined that year, but we were okay with that, and took a step back and basically redesigned our whole range and came out with what was now called the Essentials.
Okay.
And that's our Essentials flip-flop. We made a new shape, we made a new top mold, made a new sole mold, and we made our new colors as well. We based our colors off the, as I mentioned, elements of nature we want to protect. So we've got leaf, stands for the rainforest, shore stands for protecting oceans, granite, mountains and mining practices.
So each flip-flop or shoe design is advocating for a cause of some type.
Yes. And we also introduced the slide, as I mentioned, and that really has done well. The slide is kind of been on an upswing as a shoe model in the last 3 to 4 years, and so it's really no different. But yeah, and what we did was we took the price level down, so we made them more accessible. So we have, it's kind of in our opinion, it's a little cheesy, but we wanted to do it anyway and try to connect with people. The most economical sandal on the market. So yeah, right. So
it works, bro.
Yeah, it's all right. But yeah, it's more of a mindset rather than a slogan. But and so just wanted to be accessible to everybody.
Are you comfortable with? We talked about the energy going into the production.
Correct.
Are you comfortable with the level of energy that Indosole uses in the production process?
Yeah, it's one of those things that we're actually evaluating. We've been in the process of evaluating the last 6 months of how we offset our carbon, and then look at all the energy we use. We have 2 offices, we have a warehouse, we travel. Travel is a huge one. And obviously in Bali, we're sort of lucky because our employees' commutes are all on scooters, right? mostly electric, or not electric scooters, but not big bikes.
Yeah.
So that helps us. Use fans here in the office. So I think you got to. The difficult part of production, and this is where the reindustrial revolution really kind of started for us, was sometimes you're at mercy of who your suppliers are. And that's very difficult. It's a very interesting challenge in the product making business, right? Any product, from a technology product to a fashion product, is where do these materials come from? And that's a really important and very interesting journey that you go on. And sometimes it's hard to find out. So yeah, we're continually on that process right now. I mean, we're really into how much hemp could change for the world. I'm wearing a hemp T-shirt right now.
I know, I love that shirt.
It's a beautiful shirt. It's a beautiful shirt. It feels great, and it's hemp becoming legal in the U.S. is a godsend. So, really excited about the future of the hemp industry and what that can bring to fabrics. Yeah. But then, there's a lot of other things. There's the dye process is very, very real. Yeah. That's a very real thing, and understanding the water is another huge thing. So
there's so many variables.
Yeah,
it's not.
Well, toxicity is huge. And that's the dye process. The dye process is a very important process to look into any clothing. Yeah. That it's tough.
It's not clear cut, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah, but like going back to what you said earlier, it's like, well, doing something is better than doing nothing.
Correct. People are going to wear clothes.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's try. Let's just try. Because if you don't try, well, then you've really failed, in my opinion. And it seems like 10 years in, you're a long way down that journey, and for anyone else starting out, it's like, well, yeah, you just got to try and go through the trials, tribulations, understand the variables, and start the journey, because otherwise nothing will ever change. But one of my last questions for you, getting towards the end, is like, when you wake up in the morning and you look at what you've created, what does your conscience say?
I'm stoked to go to work, to be honest with you. So that makes me happy. We're approaching around 80,000 tires utilized to date.
In total.
In total, right? So that's
80,000 tires that don't go to landfill.
Correct. They're on people's feet. Somewhere. And then our next, phase, the journey's never done, right? So, and it's led to so many interesting places and so many interesting people and so many interesting thoughts that it's like, once you're sort of feel very fortunate to be part of a community that is moving forward, right? So we're just a small sandal company, but there's a lot of small other companies that we're aligned with, and together we're big, right? And so it's been a pleasure and an honor to be friends with people that are doing things and be introduced to people that are doing things, people like yourself that are spreading positivity. Positivity is huge and inspiration is huge. And I think, people that are doing things in general in the arts, music, positive things, fashion, photography, processes, engineering, product design, all, pushing for a better place is something that's really inspiring. So my conscience is good because we're a part of that, right? And we're a part of pushing positivity and change. And so, I wake up feeling good about that. There's always something to do. So sometimes my conscience, will revert to that there's more I can do and, and stuff like that. So, obviously it's like you can always do more, and sometimes you gotta weigh. You gotta be happy with yourself as well as how far you've come.
Dude, it's so rad. Oh man, I love it. I like it. It's rad. Well done, bro.
Thank you.
Keep going, man.
Thank you. You as well.
Next thing, listen. It's been epic. It's been like an hour and 7 minutes, and I feel like I could just talk to you all day. But I know you got to open the shop soon. I'm asking all my guests to come to the podcast with a cause. Come with a cause that you want to advocate for or promote. It can be a charity. It can be a social enterprise. It can just be a cause. It can be a way to volunteer. Anything you want. I mean, for me personally at the moment, I'm really advocating for the Red Cross in Australia, supporting the fire relief, the devastating fire relief campaign. That's where I'm at the moment. With you, I just kind of see Indosole. I know it's a business, and it has to be because we all need to survive. But I almost see it as a social enterprise as well. But is there anything else that's close to your heart that you'd like to advocate for? And just before you do tell me, just so everyone knows, this will go on the new Terrible Happy Talks website. It's terriblehappytalks.com. There's charities and how can I help page, and each guest and previous guest will have their name and a bit of a blurb as to why they're supporting a particular charity or cause. So you can check that out. And also this cause will also follow Kai's episode around on his bio via the website, via iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout and Stitcher. So Kai, man, what is your cause that you want to advocate for?
Well, I think, hearing your passion with your friends in Australia and us, we have a partner in Australia. We have Indosole Australia, and we have friends there, good friends there, and want to support them. And as well as Indosole being established in Indonesia, and myself being from Jakarta, I think there's two that we would like to provide assistance to if possible. And that, actually 3 websites if that's possible. And that's Red Cross, which is something that you really believe in. Our partner in Australia, Nick Riley, sent through someone that he likes in Australia, which is www.rfs.nsw.gov.
It's the firefighting service, yes.
Yep. And then the third one is for Jakarta, which is Habitat for Humanity, which I've been hearing is doing a real good job with helping people with the floods in Jakarta.
Yeah, wow. Again, that contrast.
So choose whichever one you feel. And then I think there's one more, if you don't mind it, which is wires.org.au, which is helping the animals there. So great. I think there's 4 options there that will help, and I think it's a timely.
And they're all going to go. They're all going to go in your bio and on the website. The more, the better. And I mean, I just want to give people opportunities to help. Yeah. I mean, sometimes even at the base level, I know we're busy. Like getting your credit card out and making a donation. Yeah, look, I know you don't feel like it sometimes, but if you do nothing else, that's a good place to start. And then if there's opportunities to maybe link up with some of these organisations and volunteer, great. Give your time. Your time is the most important thing that you can ever give. It's the most important asset that we have. So, but if giving your time is getting your credit card out and making the smallest of donations, well, you're doing something. And like you said, something is better than nothing.
Correct.
And I just love it, bro.
Yeah, thanks for providing that platform. Thank you.
Right, man. Now, next thing, this podcast stuff, it's been a journey for me, and I've said this to a few guests now, and I've got a whole bunch of goals that I've written on a whiteboard that I want to achieve, and a few of them, first one was just start a podcast, which was had to find out what microphones to buy and recording equipment, and then had to learn how to edit and all that shit, and I do it myself, and I'm getting better at the process. It's going along. Then another goal was that, obviously, finding the right guests, and I truly believe that the right guests just happen, and they're the ones that are meant to be on. There's often times that I'll reach out to people, and it just doesn't happen. Well, then it wasn't meant to be. And I also, one of my other goals is to give each guest a bit of a gift, and I eventually want to progress into giving T-shirts. I now have some merchandise you can get on the website through the shop. All these, it's just T-shirts and hoodies, and all the T-shirts are made from 100% organic cotton in a factory in the UK that is renewably certified, and they have ethical practices, so it's not fast fashion, it's ethical clothing. Yes, it costs a little bit more, but so what? It's going to last you for years and years, and you're helping, you're doing something. But because I'm still not quite at the process of being able to give T-shirts to everyone, I'm giving all my guests a sticker.
Sweet.
And it's only for alumni, so only for people that have been on the show. So this particular sticker, let me get it out. Hang on.
Sure.
Shit. Alrighty. So this is the THT Circle logo. It's only for alumni and guests.
Sick.
So if you have one of these logos or one of these stickers and you see someone else with one, it means they've been a guest on the show.
Sweet.
I know it's a humble offering.
Honored. No, I'm honored. I think I should put it on my water bottle, right?
Dude, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I've got other stickers and they're for everyone. So
let's put it on this bad boy.
There you go, brother.
Yeah,
stick
sweet.
it on, bro.
Thank you. THT. Certified. So reach out to me if you see this THT, other THT guys and girls.
Yeah. So it's only alumni have that sticker.
Do you like the tilt or do you like the...
Dude, it's up to you,
man.
What are you feeling?
I think I'm going to go tilt.
I kind of feel like the yellow in the logo matches your T-shirt, bro. That's amazing. It's the same colorway.
THT in effect with hemp.
That's hilarious.
And great work on your ethical clothing.
Thank you.
Organic cotton is great.
It was hard.
Yeah,
it was hard.
tough.
And you actually have two options for the shirts. You can either buy 100% organic cotton, or you can buy T-shirts that are 50% upcycled cotton from clothing that's been thrown away.
Oh, it's great.
And 50% organic cotton.
Upcycled cotton is coming. That's coming. That's one of the huge major steps in the industry.
Fast fashion, dude. It's a killer.
Yeah.
There's a show in Australia called The Chaser, and they actually did an expose on, fast fashion and how much clothing is dumped every day.
Yeah.
And they, in this main square in Australia, it was like, this is how much clothing is being thrown away per day. Yeah. And they actually got truckloads in. It was like unbelievable, like twice as big as this building. That's the amount of clothing that is being put in our dumps every day.
H&M has a $4 billion inventory problem right now. Let's try to tackle that goal.
What do you mean? They can't sell the product?
They have $4 billion worth of inventory that they
can't get rid of.
Yeah. So they've developed a recycling program, and I really, really hope that they continue to develop this, because they've done a good job at the get-go of trying to recycle this cotton. So we'll see. It's a good thing to keep an eye on.
It is. And I mean, it's those companies that do have the capacity.
We need them.
That's what Mike Long said. He said, that's why we decided to work with Adidas. Like, excuse me, if we can get in their minds, like, they have the capacity to make massive change.
It's true.
It's
true.
Oh, man. Well, it's been epic, bro. Is there anything else you want to end on? I
want to give a shout out to the crew at Indosole for just being really good compadres over the years. Business partners, Kyle Parsons and Chris Pappas. Chris Pappas has brought a lot to the company with some design and branding, and he's really instrumental in the development of the Essentials range. So big shout out to him. And Mike has done a great job with operations, and Anthony's done a great job with sales here in Indonesia, and all of our staff here at the store, Wika managing it, Lana, Rio, Tika, Killian back in the States, managing operations and customer service for all these years. What a great guy to be friends with and working with. And we've got a great team in the U.S. as well with Phoebe and some of our sales reps that are great along the West Coast, which is Byron and Ryan Cameron. And we've got great partners worldwide. We've got a great partner Nick Riley in Australia, Sander Bain in Europe, and Mr. Katsuo-san in Japan, and Jennifer Gregory and Jason Gregory in Singapore. And we've got a good group in Dubai that we're starting to work with. So very thankful for our crew, and Komang and Hindra in our warehouse here, and Sunny and Anung with our QC checks. So
quality control.
And now we've got a new girl, Marcia, starting and helping us with some website stuff in Jakarta. So big shout out to all the Indosole crew. And thank you so much for having me and us and being part of this brand and store, and thank you so much for having us on this podcast,
dude.
And all the best to you.
Thank you, brother, and thanks for being on, man. Thanks for your time. Time is precious, and I just want to give a shout out to the lovely Christina, the photographer. She's shooting today's episode, video and and photos. You can check out her website if you like. She takes amazing photos, and yeah, man.
Can I do one more?
Go, dude.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, mums. How good,
Mom. You did everything for me. Love you, Mom. Big ups to Mom and Dad.
High five, brother.
Cheers.
Legend, mate. Love your work. Keep going.
You too, man. Pound it.